Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here and being a part of Ladies Power Lunch Summit. Live your optimal life. Our next presenter, Robin Mayberry, is amazing. I absolutely adore her. She is a transformational coach. She's transformed her own decades-long dysmorphia, eating disorders, and substance abuse by gently restoring her relationship with her body. How awesome is that? She now uses her superpowers as a reflector. Yes, folks, she's a reflector. If you're into human design, you understand how amazing this is. Her superpowers as a reflector, clairsentient, transformational coach, and body talk practitioner to help you discover and process the messages that arise through the oracle of your own body. The result is an abundant life in an easy body, in flow with the universe that can't wait to see what you do next. She's going to be sharing with us today about your visible intuition. And her chapter in Ladies Power Lunch Anthology, Live Your Optimal Life, is called Your Body is an Oracle. Robin, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so thrilled to be here. We are going to talk today. I'm going to take this opportunity to share one of my favorite topics and what I talk about a lot and share with my clients and really anyone who comes into my sphere is the way that our bodies talk to us, how to understand a little bit about understanding that language and using it to our advantage. And a big piece of what I do, as you mentioned, is encourage. I had to go through this path in my own life, and then I encourage other people to get back into our bodies. I found certainly in my own life, and I see this in a lot of people that I work with and that I know, is in this culture we're really trained to get into our brains and to get into our minds and to think about it and to rationalize about it and to have a strategy and to use logic and to really be separated from the sensations in our body. And then, it goes far enough that it's baked into some of our dominant religious ideas, the idea that the body is like, we don't want that, we want this. And my experience has been that our essence, our magic, who we are, really shines when we can come back into and really inhabit the physical form that we're in. I see it as a co-creation. I see it as that we as the being, it's like a diagram, and we as the being, we're a bubble, and our body is a bubble, and we can survive without each other, but not very well. But when we bring me the being plus me the body together, that's when we get some real traction, action, excitement, adventure. so I'm going to share some practical, I'm going to share one practical tool, but some thoughts. So when I talk about the information that's in our bodies, what I'm really talking about is intuition. So I just want to take a moment to share about this. And then again, we're going to get I want to show you a technique, a strategy. So we're going to do that here momentarily. But I want to touch on what intuition is. And what I practice is what I call visible intuition. So there's a few different ways to take what we know and kind of put it out in front of us so that we can see it. A misconception that I see, or that I've run into, is that there seems to be an idea that intuition is real flight. It's like, well, that intuition is like in this little pinpoint of imagination. That seems to be an idea that I see a lot of people hold. Like if you see something intuitively, you see it right there in your third eye, and you get a little picture, and you know what it means. But that is a misconception. In my experience, intuition is just the word that we give for the knowing that's in our body. It's gut knowing, it's heart knowing, it's memories and beliefs that are stored in our fascia and our cells and our structures and our movement patterns. And we have access to that information. And so when we get these information hits, but aren't quite sure, we don't remember thinking about it, like we can't track the pathway, then we might call that intuition. But what it really is, it's embodied knowing is what it is. So in order to access our intuitive knowing, we need to be able to speak the body's language. And here's the second piece. So first I see when people speak of intuition and communicating with their body, there's a tendency to think it's like some just little vision, woo, and often it's a sensation. So that's the first misconception. And then the second misconception that I run into is that people, I say, and I hear people say, like, just listen to your body. But what does that mean? Like, how? It's not going to sit there and just tell you, well, what I think. So we need a translator. We need a way to hear it. And I think it's important to remember that when you're tuning into the information that's in the body, there's essentially two strategies that our bodies speak to us with. They speak through symbol, and that's one thing that's the tool I'm about to teach you. And they speak through sensation. So a lot of times that can be what we call a symptom. If that sensation is uncomfortable or chronic or long term, sometimes, not all the time, I'm going to be careful to say not every symptom is a message. But it can be that we, like, if you have chronic neck pain and, there's reasons that we have, the catchphrases that we do, pain in the neck and things like that. If you've got chronic pain or holding patterns, or you keep injuring the same joint, or, excuse me, over and over, then your body might have something to say. That is a sensation. That's the way that it talks. But also we can just kind of get like maybe a feeling in the gut, or a feeling in our heart, or we can feel strong and then, like we raise up, or we can feel shy and we sort of tuck in. Those are all messages. Those sensations and movements are how the body talks. So I like to take any opportunity I can just to sort of clarify that. One other thing, and then we will get started. That's good to know, is that as we speak, your body is processing 40 million bits of information. It's reading up to 8 miles out in every direction. It's picking up everything, every person, every sound, every movement, what the earth is doing, what the sky is doing, what the birds are doing. It's picking it all up. It filters down to 40 bits of information per second, and that's our awareness. So we know we're having this conversation right now. That's running at 40 bits of information. That means that our body's literally holding a million times more information. It filters down to something that now I can look around and go, that's a clock, that's a computer. And we need that or we'd be crazy. But all the rest of that information, where is it? It's in the body. So Davia, thank you for listening to my little bitty spiel. Would you like to tune in to your body and ask it a question? Your body is going to be an oracle now. So this visible intuition tool that I like to use written strategies, or like things that move through the hand, and muscle checking. For this little mini workshop today for our Live Your Optimal Life Summit, we're going to talk about a tool. I learned this tool. I like to give credit to my teachers. So I learned this tool originally from Whitney Freya, who's an artist, a transformative artist, and she calls it a soul scribble, but I call it, this is one of my visible intuition tools. So we're going to do a little strategy so you can see for yourself, your body's going to have an opportunity to communicate with you. So this is how we do it. We first get, so do you have a pencil and paper nearby? Okay, so get your pencil, viewers, get a pencil and paper handy. This is just real simple. Does not have to be anything fancy. In fact, I will show you. I just pulled this. This is one that I did the other day. Can we see it? And you see, I just grabbed a notebook and a pen. It's not showing up very well, but I wanted to show you this can be super simple. Whenever you're going to tune into your body, it's always a good idea just to shift for a minute and just take a breath or two. So I'm going to invite you, before we settle in and sort of change our channel just a little bit from busy into like tuning in. Let's have you bring a question to mind. So Davia, if you can just, so some guidelines around this. For this particular tool, you want sort of an open-ended question. So a yes or no is just less fun. Should I go to the Thai restaurant tonight? You can do it, but it's less fun. But so I would suggest a question like, what does my body need to feel supported? What do I need to feel like I'm in love in my relationship? What would support my financial life? So like, just sort of like open up, give it an open-ended thing. And let's see what comes through. It's always interesting. So I'll give you just a moment. I think I'm going to go probably with, what does my body need to feel supported? Because that's always fun. Do you have a question? Do you have a question in your mind? Okay, Ish.
I'm sure our viewers do have questions. I have a question too, and I would invite everybody, feel free to drop your question in the chat so that we can all share with each other. My question is, what's my next best step to living my optimal life?
Of course it is. Perfect. That is the perfect question. Of course. What is my next best step to live my optimal life? This will be a great tool for this. Okay. So while we're still sort of in the thinking mind, just pull you get your question handy. So you've got it. So now we're going to just drop into our bodies. And the easiest and fastest way to do that is just with a couple of breaths. So I'll have you start just by taking a few nice deep breaths. Just do a real simple grounding technique. So on your next deep breath, imagine that a root is going from your tailbone down into the earth. Some people I know are not as good at imagining, and so in case you are that kind of person that's like, well, I'm not good at imagining, that's fine. It's really just setting the intention. Your awareness, you are connected to the earth is the reality. And so you're just going to initiate that awareness that you are connected to the earth. But if you're an imaginer, then you can imagine that there's a root coming down from your tailbone, going down into the earth, through all the layers of the earth. Another breath or two, and the root goes down and down and down, all the way into the center of the earth. And in the center of the earth is this bright pink light. And so on your next couple of breaths, you're just going to breathe in that bright pink light, just back up into your body. Just imagine it however it shows up for you. We're just slowing down our pace, really. And the light goes all the way up now, all the way to the top of your head, and it connects back up with the sky. So you become a comfortable conduit between the energies of the earth and the energies of whatever's um whatever the source is, whatever you call source. Okay. So from here, you just bring your question back up. What's my next best step to live my optimal life is an amazing one. And just for variety, I will do what does my body need to thrive? Like, what is one thing my body needs to thrive? Just so we have a little variety. And then just take your pencil, close your eyes, your pencil or pen, close your eyes. I like to take one more breath just to really get into my body and just ask your body to give you this answer. And the way you're going to do that is you're just going to scribble something on the page and just see what it does. And when you're finished with your scribble, you just stop. Okay. Okay. Now you can open up your eyes, and here's where, whenever we do visible intuition, whenever we do intuition of any kind, there's always a certain element of interpretation that we can, if we have an opportunity, talk a little bit about, but I will for sure say there's no harm in just trusting it. I'd say the biggest thing that gets in the way is people think, well, how do I know if I'm right? Well, you can't be wrong. Whatever pops up is what pops up. So I will just share mine. So I said, what do I need to support my body? I don't know why. Here's my scribble. Boo, 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 boo. The thing that pops up for me when I look at it is a sandwich. I, I mean, and I've just been sitting here telling myself, oh, I shouldn't be eating bread, da da da. Like, yes, I've done all my work, and yet those thoughts, why are you eating that bread? Blah 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 blah. And I say, what body? What do you need? And someone else could see something completely else. But when I look at that, I see sandwich. So that is the way this sort of pops up. So, Davia, do you mind sharing what it looks like to what your scribble is? Can we see your scribble? Okay. Ooh, yeah, that's got a lot of movement to it. That's got a lot of action. So what do you see?
To me, it looks like a yoga pose.
Oh, wow. Is there a particular yoga pose that it looks like?
It looks like, when you're about to get into like a child's pose or something. That's sort
So
of
that's a surrendering pose,
what
right?
it evokes for me. Yes.
So your
Yeah.
question was, what would you need to live your optimal life?
Yeah.
Now okay, that's where my mind goes. Where does your mind go with that?
For me, I like the idea of surrender. That feels like it resonates. And it seems like it's saying to me that mindfulness activities are going to be something for me to focus in on.
Okay, I suggest that you make a little note next to your drawing. Mindfulness activities will support living your optimal life.
Okay.
I will see, just again, for example, I'm going to try again to show this one. Okay, this was one that I did the other day, and it was about my business. I was like, what does my business need to do? And just to give you another example, um, it's just a scribble, but what popped up to me is it looked like a face. So this was just my interpretation, and that's all this is. That is all. There is no right or wrong answer. I did, and then I said, what does that mean to me? And what this particular scribble, when I said, okay, where am I at with my business, is that I need to put my face out there, which is interesting because then here we are. And there was like, it looks like there's a heart coming out of sort of where the mouth would be. So I need to speak love. And then there's like the swoop, and it makes me realize that putting my face out there and speaking love is what I need to move forward. Like there's this forward motion. So that's my body moved. And then my mind, not so much my thinking mind, which can be restrictive, but my just interpretive mind says, this is what this says to me. And you cannot do it wrong. And if you do a thing and then you're like, I have no idea, then you can do it again. It's just a tool. So I will pause and check in to see, like, how does that feel for you to try to use that tool?
Well, I would definitely invite our viewers to go ahead and drop in the chat what's coming up for them as they've done their tool. And if you want to take a screenshot and share it in the group, that's a really, really great idea too. Um, I like it because I feel as though as I look at it more, I'm seeing more things. The very first thing that popped up was for me was, oh, this looks like a yoga pose, and maybe it's a reminder for me to really stay focused on my mindfulness. But then I'm also seeing, and I don't know the the way that the curves have formed, it looks kind of like a gastrointestinal tract. And I can see what looks like my tongue and it looks like my gut. And I know that I do personally have some gut health opportunities to really take better care of my GI. So there's probably a message there about that. And then I'm seeing what looks like knees, like I'm down in that sort of child's pose. And I like your idea about the surrender. And I like that you can't get it, you really can't get it wrong.
Absolutely can't. And you're right, looking at it longer. Um, so I realized just looking at this a little bit longer, I see a lot of activity. So my question was, how to support my body, just because so we can have a variety. And there's a lot of activity on top, which is sort of the thinker, but there's a lot of spaciousness. And if this were my body, this would be the gut for me. And there's a lot of spaciousness, quiet. And I've been thinking personally, in fact, I'm going to write this down, meditation, maybe also a sandwich, but meditation to create space for my gut knowing brain. So the more you look at it, the more information it may give you. And if I may, there's just a few things I'd like to refer to, because these are things I hear a lot when people engage in any kind of intuitive thing, even oracle reading, or like reading cards or anything. I will hear people say, "How do I know I can trust it?" And to which I say, "Who else? Who knows better?" And people that I encounter often seem to think like maybe we want to see a certain thing and we're gonna direct it. And of course, that possibility always exists, and you have every right to, if you want to steer the ship your way. But if you're the kind of person that participates in this kind of group, this kind of summit, if you're a person who's looking to live your optimal life, the chances are excellent that you can trust yourself to be open to messages you may not immediately understand, and that may require changes out of you. And it's when people sort of close off to intuitive information, it can be because they don't understand it or they're not particularly ready to take action. And that's fine. We have all the time in the world. We're eternal. But if you're here right now, you're probably the kind of person that's open to making changes because you really are embracing living the most full dynamic life you can, optimal. So there's no harm in trusting it. No harm is going to come out of it. Another thing people say, well, what if I do a thing like this and then I make a terrible mistake? What if I do it around getting a job and then I choose the wrong job? And again, through that same lens, I just want to remind you, like, you can't make a mistake. No mistakes can be made. All we do is have experiences. So, but if you're going to make big decisions like getting a job or buying a house or things like that, I suggest you do more than just a soul scribble. Check in with various forms, but this can be supportive. Like, I think I want to take this job. I'm going to sit and check in with my body. What does my body want to say about it? And you can get a sense if there's, this is good for filling out information. This is good for just tuning in to some deeper knowing that you have. And if you're on the fence about something, it can be like, wow, I just drew a real zigzaggy, cricky cracky, maybe I know something. And it's just another piece of information, but it can be very valuable. Want to share that?
I love that. So I have a question for you. You've used this tool in the past with clients. What sort of feedback do you generally get with your clients when you use this tool?
Pretty similar to what your experience just was. Most people can see something in there because it's their own body talking. If I drew a scribble, they might not see anything. Maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't. But when people's own system gives them a line, they're in harmony with it. It's theirs. And most of the time, the people that I've worked with have been able to see a piece of information that's helpful. And again, what we're doing is we're taking the knowing that's embedded in your body, but that does not speak a verbal language, and we're giving it a symbol to work with so that we can communicate between our verbal minds and our embodied minds. So that's what this is. It's a little communication bridge. So generally, when I share this with others, they, just like you did, can see something that's valuable because it's because their body is trying to say it. And it's like, oh, here's a chance. I can say this. I've been meaning to tell you this, because they're very eager to speak, actually. We just don't, we have communication barriers. So this is one that walks us through.
I know for me, I spend a lot of time in my head. And so I definitely like any kind of activities that give me an opportunity to be more embodied, to get a little bit more into my body. And as I keep looking at it, I'm seeing more and more popping out at it. Whereas when I looked at it the very first time, I thought, okay, it's a scribble. Thanks.
What am I supposed to do with this? Yeah, give it a minute. Mhm.
Yeah, so I guess my advice to folks who are watching along, and I hope you have been sharing in the chat what has been coming up for you. I would invite you to maybe give it some time if you're not seeing as yet the message. Go back and look at it and see what pops for you. Any final words, Robin?
Okay, my final thought is, again, just to remember there is no authority out there that knows more than your system. So the chapter that I wrote for the Live Your Optimal Life book that is going to be so amazing is called Your Body as an Oracle, because what that means to me is that your body is this source of information. It's a touch point. It holds a lot of knowing that is highly trustworthy. And sometimes we tend to like look out there, maybe you know more, but we all know in ourselves what is the highest truth for us, and the more we can realign with that, the better harmony we can be in.
That's beautiful. Robin, thank you so much. I'm sure everybody really enjoyed that activity, and it's something else that we can have in our toolkit to help us to be more embodied and to live our optimal life. It is possible, folks, and that's the whole purpose of our summit is for us to try it on, see what it feels like, get to know it, and then perhaps keep it on, stay with it, and take it away for the rest of our lives. Thank you so much for tuning in with Robin. And we're going to go on to the next presenter.